Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'd like to talk to you about what gear you really need to start recording classical guitar and making music today. So let's get into it. Before I get started, please hit that like and subscribe button. It would really help support the channel. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what gear is essential to recording classical guitar. I'm also going to show you what traps to avoid when you're getting your first setup and how to get the most bang for your buck. So the internet is filled with forum posts and videos all telling you get the most expensive microphones and preamps because you simply must have them, or they were microphones blessed by Segovia and christened by David Russell, or made with some magic polymer from Jason Vio's private ping pong ball stock. Sorry, quarantine's driving me a little crazy. But all you really need is just to spend a few $100 or even less to get a pro-sounding setup. The four primary components for your studio setup are number 1, microphones, 2 would be preamps, 3 would be your DAW, and then 4 would be some way to listen back to your recordings, either studio monitors or a nice set of headphones. So ideally, classical guitar is recorded with a stereo pair of microphones, either 2 small diaphragm condenser microphones or omnidirectional microphones. Small diaphragm microphones are basically how they sound. It's a small diaphragm, you can think of it almost as a sail that catches wind, that actually picks up the sound and transfers it to your electric signal. Usually these are in cardioid pickup patterns, meaning they mostly pick up sound from the front and can get better bass response by moving it closer to the subject. This is called proximity effect. Omnidirectional microphones are different in that, unlike cardioid patterns that pick up almost a heart shape in front of the microphone, they pick up a circle. So they pick up most of the natural ambience. However, in a home studio, usually rooms are too small to really benefit from these microphones, and they actually might make your recording sound worse. Small diaphragms are usually ideal because the small diaphragm works really well with the gentle sound of a classical guitar. It really helps pick up all the nuances in the plucking. Some really good budget options are the SE Electronics SE8, which I use for most of my videos, or the cheaper cousin, the SE7. But you can also get Samson CO2s on the really cheap. Now the drawback to inexpensive microphones is that they usually have a higher noise floor and also have this kind of hyped frequency, usually in the upper mids around 4K, which can sound a little bit harsh. But most of the time this can be mitigated by proper placement and then just a little bit of tweaking in the mix. Now if you're really on a budget or just have one microphone laying around, you can get great results. You can even almost stereoize it, and check out my video on that in the description below. Now most single microphones are usually large diaphragm, meaning they pick up more of the sound and have lower noise, which can actually be a benefit over a stereo pair. However, again, the problem is that you're not actually using a stereo pair, so that when you stereoize it, it can only do so much. A few large diaphragm microphones to check out would be the Audio-Technica AT2020 and also the Lewitt Audio LCT240. I happen to both use the AT2020 and the Lewitt Audio 441 Flex. After you buy your microphones, the next most important thing is your audio interface or preamp. The audio interface acts as a preamp to the microphone, supplies it with power and then enough gain to get a good signal, but it also handles the digital conversion into the computer. So it converts the audio from the microphone into a digital signal, which you can then edit in your DAW. Another great benefit of these audio interfaces is that they allow you to hook up headphones and studio monitors so you can accurately hear what you just recorded. If you're on a super tight budget and only have one microphone, you can get something really cheap like the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, but if you have a stereo pair, I really recommend getting the Scarlett 2i2 with the 2 inputs. For most people, if you have the money, definitely get the 2 inputs. You're going to want those for stereo pairs later on down the line. And you really don't want to have to buy another interface on top of the one you just bought. And again, certain forums will tell you that you have to spend a ton of money on preamps like APIs or something fancy, but really all you need is just clean gain. And the Focusrites do that perfectly. Now just a quick aside, if you actually want a less hassle kind of mobile solution, the Zoom recorders work great. Most Zoom recorders usually have at least an XY capsule and preamps built into the actual device itself. Now the only drawback to that is that it doesn't act as an actual interface to the computer, so you can't hook up stereo monitors or do anything like that. So in the end, you might also want to invest in an interface too. Now for your DAW, this is mostly just personal choice. I use Presonus Studio One, but I've used Reaper in the past. I still kind of bounce back and forth for videos. I like the workflow for each, and if you're on a budget, I fully recommend Reaper. If you bought it, it's super cheap, like 60 bucks, and if you don't buy it, it never expires, so it's technically free. So there's really no excuse to not have a DAW. So if you're on a budget, I fully recommend Reaper. It can do pretty much anything the other DAWs can, and it punches Audacity into oblivion. Now some other popular options would be like Logic, GarageBand, Cubase. The only one I really would not recommend for classical guitarists is Pro Tools, unless you really enjoy burning money. But other than that, I think you'd probably be pretty good. At this point, most DAWs are equally powerful, So if there's a deciding factor, you might even get what your friend has. If they have a DAW that they use and they like maybe Logic or Presonus, you can always ask them for help, and when you're starting out recording, that can be a huge asset. Now lastly, there's the monitoring situation. This is where you need some way to actually listen back to your recordings so you can accurately mix them. This is where things like earbuds, normal headphones, and computer speakers just do not cut it. You need to at least get a pair of studio monitors or a good pair of studio headphones, which are cheaper. I would recommend studio monitors to most people, however, usually the cost of studio monitors will be more than your microphone and interface combined. Now this is where I would recommend getting a good set of studio headphones. This is where I would recommend maybe the Audio-Technica M20s, M50s, or the Sennheiser HD280s or the HD380s, which I use. These are great alternatives. You can use these for tracking if you want to hear reverb while you play, but they're also very flat response so that when you mix with them, you actually know what you're doing. Whereas if you mix on computer speakers, you might think it sounds good, but if you listen to it on any other kind of sound system, it just sounds like garbage. I know from experience. All right, that's my time. If you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button to support the channel. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.